Yeah, my way. Tipenguva wangu ndoda hopo.
So basically, illness anxiety is the fear of getting a disease or the fear of getting an illness. So one thing we have to note here is that it is an irrational fear. It's not rational. It's an irrational fear. So your mind takes you to places where you shouldn't be, and yeah, I think basically that's what it is.
And also, the thing with the illness anxiety, it also gives you that feeling, Yekuti, that one small thing might lead to something bigger. Like any normal illness, or if such, it can develop into something bigger that you cannot control.
Yes.
So that's the one, that obsession. There's always that obsession over one small thing that usually leads to something bigger.
Yes.
But you guys, how then do we avoid this, considering that there's a pandemic, the whole pandemic, and the world is affected now? And you might look at it this way: there are variants coming up. I don't know. How do we deal with this?
You can't really deal with it effectively, because what happens with hypochondria now is it's involuntary. You don't plan to say, okay, I'm going to be afraid of ever since the pandemic started, it has affected more people. Hypochondria has affected more people, and more often than not. But some, they haven't even been bothered about the pandemic, So it's not something you choose to say, oh, I'm going to be afraid of COVID. It just happened. For example, I was diagnosed of OCD, I think 2 years ago. I was 2.5 years ago. I was diagnosed of OCD. I went through that. I went through illness anxiety because there was a particular disease that I was scared of, but I couldn't avoid it. I knew my fear of this disease was not rational, but at the back of my mind there was this a bit telling me, what if you get it this way? What if you get this disease this way? So it was actually tough, and I trying to deal with it. I went through counseling and a lot of things, and a lot of conversations with therapists, doctors, but yeah, it was baby steps. I didn't get it right,
So you actually visited a shrink, but you know how it is with Africans. We don't believe in shrinks.
You see,
shrinks. What are shrinks?
We don't believe in shrinks. Psychologists.
No. I didn't go to psychologist. My therapists were my doctors. So what happened is, when I went to see a doctor, let's say I go to see my regular doctor, right, my general practitioner, I tell him my story. I think I might have got this disease in this way, and I know in my head, with my knowledge, I know, what, this is not rational, but I would share it with him. Even as I'm sharing with him, I feel embarrassed, So I've shared with him, I might have caught this disease. I fear I might have caught this disease, but at the back of my mind, I know, oh man, why am I even telling him this? And he reassures me. So he actually told me that it's normal. What OCD does to you is you're going to go and seek reassurance.
Okay.
Yes. What OCD does, it feeds off reassurance. Okay. So each and every time it's triggered, you're going to go and seek reassurance. Oh no, you're fine, don't worry about it, and stuff like that.
Okay.
But you're not going to get someone who is going to babysit you all the time and reassure you. And at some point I felt as though, what if I'm a bit too much? I can't keep going to the same person and sharing the same story, So I kept switching from doctor to doctor, how it is, how it was, but they actually helped me.
Okay.
So with that whole issue of him, like, maybe seeking reassurance, it now forms the basis for this, the whole issue of it. It's like your mind is playing a trick on you.
Yeah.
So every time something happens, it gives you something else to worry about. It always gives you that one thing that you do this, it's going to turn into this. From this, it will go from this to this one. Like what you're saying about the whole issue of COVID-19, right? Before, like, we knew about it or even heard about it, no one even cared about cleaning their surfaces. Some of us didn't even know that sanitizers existed before, and we never even cared. But the moment it was mentioned, you start thinking, you get more like aware or conscious about your environment. Every move you make, everything you touch, everything to you, it will lead to you getting the virus. To an extent that even your table, you look at it, you wipe the table, you leave and come back, you're like, did I wipe it enough? Let me do it again. From there, you catch a common cold. We reached a point where no one could even separate a common cold and like the virus itself. You get a common cold, to you, you are dead. That's the first thing you think. You're like, it got me now. I tried, guys. Like,
And you know what happens is you have so much. You sometimes hypochondria is triggered because you don't have enough information. For example, with COVID-19, there was so much misinformation going around, about the disease because a lot of people didn't understand it yet, and not having enough information and that affirmative answer is going to trigger hypochondria and illness anxiety more because you've got so many questions in your mind and you have these scenarios playing out in your head. Oh, what if I get it through this? Or what if I get it through this? And some of the ways are even impossible for you to catch that particular disease. Take, for example, cancer. Someone with OCD or hypochondria can get a little headache and think, oh, what if it's a tumor growing in my head? They might get a pain in their abdomen and think, oh, what if my appendix is burst? So I went through something like that when I was suffering from OCD, and I'm glad I got through that because at the back end of last year I actually got better. I never thought I would get better, but those therapies actually helped me. I want to thank my doctors for that. Those therapies actually helped me, but it was not a once-off thing. With time I got to be brave enough to talk about my experiences with other people, and people didn't even notice. My friends didn't even notice because I didn't want to talk about it. Partly was because
it's weird.
yeah.
I'm sorry to say, but it's weird that somebody told you OCD. Because okay, now that you've explained to me and then you've schooled me, I used to feel like people with OCD are just smart. I know a friend who tells you, I want my tomatoes cut in such a manner.
Yeah.
Imagine.
That's what OCD
You
does.
see. It reaches a point where it starts controlling you. It comes from, at first it's usually you controlling your situation, to a point now it's now your situation controlling you.
Then you lose it.
Then you lose it now. Because let's say that person is like, I want my tomatoes cut this way. Just one day, just to mess up with that person, try cutting them another way. In the reaction that they will give you will tell you, if anything, it will shed more light. Not that I'm saying people should like mess around with these things, but if you are to try it, like the reaction itself can also help you like realize that maybe there's something that I didn't know here.
Okay, you were saying that missing little information, right? I'm thinking also OCD can also be a result of too much of it.
Too much information.
Yes, and then that thing. This is me. I like reading a lot. I read a lot. Apparently, there was a certain time whereby I used to watch a lot of things on sci-fi. Right? Sci-fi and aliens, and I started thinking, these things are coming. So I'm thinking. So listen, I'm thinking here now. What happens if you get too much information? I mean, look at us. This is now. You don't get anything on the internet, and then you find yourself digging and digging and digging. Then you discover. Oh, so if this happens, this can happen. This. And then you've opened a whole Pandora's box, my friend. Imagine.
Yeah, and also that
You're laughing. Look at you. And it's a serious
I
issue.
know. I'm not supposed to laugh, but
serious.
what you're saying, you know how there are people, like let's say the issue of aliens that you're talking about.
Yes.
There are some people now who walk around like where I'm wearing those tin foils or aluminum foils.
Yes.
Because they have this belief that they won't be abducted by aliens, right? That all comes now.
is that a thing?
Yes,
No.
unfortunately.
It's a thing actually. Oh,
Unfortunately.
honestly, isn't it that you're talking about it?
Yeah.
It
comes from that obsession.
From obsession. And you're busy digging out information and then you discover.
So the more you dig, the more you realize more
Yes, and then
stuff.
the anxiety builds up.
Yes, and also what you're realizing now is what you're also realizing in that is that most of these things are irrational, right? They're irrational, and it's not real. And telling that to someone who has never gone through that, they can actually laugh at you and say, "Oh, how can you believe that? Oh, every headache might be cancer. You know, a tumor." That is growing in your head. How can you believe that you can get HIV from a cat? How can you believe that sharing the same bathroom with someone who's got a disease, you can catch it, even though the disease is not contagious or stuff like that?
Why do I have a feeling that your condition also was contributed by the fact that you had the internet at your disposal? You would actually find your own.
Yes.
Now you see where I'm coming from.
So now, sorry. That whole issue now of self-diagnosis.
Yeah,
Self-diagnosis.
yeah.
Now that thing, to some extent, plays a major trick, and also a major point, in all this. It's that one thing. That's why we always advise people that, let's say you have you're feeling some type of way, always visit a doctor, so that those people can also help you reach a point where you can understand things, which is also why we have taken this platform as well, so that we can talk about